Your 2025 Oklahoma Sooners are heading to the college football playoff.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, for more Oklahoma Sooners and college football coverage. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire and USA Today Sports. On today's show, we're going to talk about a former USC Trojan making the take of all takes. You might like that one in the third segment. In the second segment, we're going to ask the question, should the Texas Longhorns be a playoff team? The short answer is no, but we're going to have a lot more to say about it. But here it is. The Oklahoma Sooners, with their number 8 ranking in the college football playoff, are going to the college football playoff, Jay.
Yeah, it looks like now that's been solidified as we go into college, the conference championship weekend. And we kind of expected this. There's no reason to drop Oklahoma whatsoever. LSU is still a formidable opponent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They have some of the best corners in college football. And I think one of them, Amanshur Delaney is a Thorpe finalist as well. So, yeah, they got some beast. DBU still exists. Shout out to Corey Redmond over there, the DB coach. He knows that he is DBU in and out. So for Oklahoma, though, it's bittersweet. You know, it's exciting. We're finally at the point. I mean, we didn't make the conference championship game. It's okay. I think a lot of us didn't even want to play in that game, even though personally I would have liked it just to be able to move up even more. But Oklahoma's in. That's what matters. It appears that we did everything we needed to do to get to this point, John. Regardless of what the naysayers say, the haters are going to hate. And, Oklahoma's there, man. I'm lost for words that we're actually at this point. It's not like I didn't think it was possible. It's just the fact that it actually came to fruition.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, if they're being honest with themselves, didn't think it was possible, even Oklahoma fans, because the schedule was so difficult going into the season.
Gauntlet.
And listen, even though we might have thought that it wasn't as difficult as it looked on paper, they still had to go win the football games. They still had to prove that they were a team capable of winning 10 games. And 10 games in the SEC is going to get you in the mix for the playoff, in the discussion. Vanderbilt's in the discussion. They're a 10-2 team. They're in the discussion. They're not going to be in the playoff, but they're in the discussion. Alabama's a 10-2 team. They're currently in the college football playoff rankings. So it's one of those things. If in this era, you're in the SEC and you win 10 games, that's going to put you in position to do some really special things. Now you got to go make some noise once you get there, but you've got several weeks to rest up. And Jay, the thing that I find the most impressive about all of this, you go 4-0 in November, you win 2 big road games in 2 of the most hostile environments in college football against Tennessee and Alabama. You come back home, you don't suffer any emotional letdowns against Missouri or LSU. You win to get in, and you do it without your best player. Mason Thomas played half of a quarter in the month of November, and your defense didn't really suffer for it. He missed 3 and 75% of, or more than 75% of another game, and Oklahoma still found ways to win. And that's, to me, really, really impressive. It's hard to quantify just how impressive that is, because you take a guy like that off the field and it affects everything. It affects your pass rush. It affects your run defense. It affects how your guys cover in the back end. Everything gets affected when you take off a guy like Mason Thomas, who's going to be a top 50 NFL draft pick next April.
Yeah. And the good thing about the way Oklahoma has played is, like, everybody's really harping heavily on the offense. The offense struggle, offense still put up almost 400 yards against that LSU defense, which is the only second team to do that this season to them. And on top of that, the other thing to keep in mind is that this defense drags everybody into the mud with them. They drive them, pull them all the way down to their level. Oklahoma's defense gave up how many how many points this year? 167 or something. That's like the second lowest in SEC history. It's also them and Bama. I think they had 198 and Georgia's at 200. They're the only 3 teams to give up 200 points or less this season. That should tell you something about just the eliteness of this defense. Second highest, I think 2021 Georgia is the lowest point team, the team to give the lowest amount of points on defense in a season in the SEC. We're right there at number 2. Tells you everything you need to know about what this defense is playing, and this defense can carry them to a deep playoff run. Like everybody's going to say, I don't think they can make a run. The offense is just struggling. The offense just can't do this, that, and the other. But it will be funny if the offense goes and put up 400-something yards in a game and we still drag teams into the mud and win some of these games. Then they're going to keep saying, well, I mean, the offense just isn't all that great. It's about the same as what everybody else is putting up numbers-wise. Let's not pretend like that's not the numbers. Yes, the turnovers sucked. Told y'all the dude's going to turn the ball over a few times. He hit his number, and now his quota is hit. He should be good for the rest of the playoffs. He should be good to go going forward. I just hope that these 2-3 weeks of rest is taken advantage of. Body parts heal, go through treatment, go through passing drills, make sure everybody gets their timing, and make sure everybody gets in alignment. And then you get ready to go play those games. Because I feel like if this team is healthy, they're one of the best. They're one of the top 10 teams in the country. And I think they're one of the few teams that can win a championship.
Even if they're not healthy, that's the thing that's been impressive. They've proven that even though they're not healthy, because they didn't have their starting center this past week against LSU, John Mateer had surgery in the middle of the season. You've got no running backs that are healthy that you trust, and you've still been able to find ways to win football games because your defense has been so good. And you talk about the offense and how, okay, maybe it's not as bad as a lot of people want to make it out to be. Think about how many of the top defenses Oklahoma's played this year. They've played so many good defenses on their schedule that kind of skews the numbers a little bit. Alabama, LSU, Missouri, Auburn, Michigan, Texas. That's a lot of really good defenses. So while the offense isn't putting up big numbers and highlights every single week, they're battle tested going into the playoff. And so whatever defense that they end up facing won't necessarily be better than what they've already seen this year.
Yep.
Now there might be a defense like a Texas Tech that is statistically better than some of the other ones that they faced. But again, it's not an apples to apples comparison when you're comparing what Texas Tech has done against the Big 12 to what Oklahoma has faced in the SEC and on their schedule. So I would not sit here and be like, oh, Oklahoma can't score on anybody in the playoff, because I've seen them do enough against their schedule, and their schedule has been tough.
Yeah, we're not going to see – we'll see some pretty good defenses in the playoffs. We're not going to see the gauntlet of defenses that we saw before. We probably will see them – I'd say if you make it to the semis, that's where you will run back into some really good defenses again.
Ohio State, maybe Georgia.
Indiana, Georgia. Yep. They've all proven that they've got some really good defenses, and I think Oklahoma can match up with them. I think that, like I said, they'll drag them in the mud. They're going to cause they're going to put them in very uncomfortable, painful situations. And that's what you want. You want to have a suffocating defense like that. That is what wins. And so, hey, defense wins championships. We say it all the time as a cliche, but it's the truth. If you can drag teams in the mud and keep them low scoring, and then you do just enough to score on your side, it's usually what leads to W's. So let's see it. Let's have a day. Let's have a week of doing nothing and enjoying football, because you don't have to do anything, and just relax.
Yeah.
Because we get a break and then we go play ball.
Conference championship weekend is a great weekend of college football, and you just get to sit back and enjoy it. Kick back, put your feet up, relax a little bit.
No complaining.
And then, and then see where the chips fall, right? Spot the ball once the final playoff rankings come out. As Brent Venables said, wherever the committee asks Oklahoma to play, they will be ready.
Be ready to go.
That's got me pumped up and excited. Should the Texas Longhorns be in? There's been so much crying happening right now about the Longhorns. We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. So with FanDuel, you can place bets as the actions unfold, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlighted moment. And they've got the live spreads and money lines adjusted instantly. You got player props, updates, and everything as guys get heated up. So cool. Good stuff. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, over the last week or so, from Steve Sarkisian talking about Texas after they beat Texas A&M and how if Texas is kept out of the college football playoff, they'll have to seriously reconsider playing Ohio State next week or next year and their future non-conference scheduling. And I've seen a lot of national media members take up in defense of Texas. I've seen a lot of Texas fans basically talking about how they don't want their team to compete. And this discussion about whether or not Texas should be in the college football playoff, to me, is completely out of pocket. They lost 3 games this year. This Texas team is Alabama from last year, Ole Miss from last year, South Carolina from last year. This Texas team doesn't have a resume that deserves to be in the college football playoff simply because they lost to Florida. They lost to Ohio State. They got waxed by Georgia. So anybody talking about putting a 9-3 Texas team into the college football playoff is completely missing the discussion. And Steve Sarkisian trying to sit here and say that it doesn't serve college football well to keep a Texas team out of the playoff simply because they lost to Ohio State. You're missing again, Steve, that you lost to Florida. And it'd be nice, and I might let Texas stand on this moral high ground about doing what's in the best interest of college football, if it weren't for the fact that a little over a decade ago, they stood and argued for the Longhorn network that basically led to the conference realignment that led to ultimately Oklahoma and Texas being in the SEC, the Big 12 just falling apart. That was all the Longhorn network, Jay. And so I'm so tired of sitting here watching Texas fans act like, hey, we don't want our team to compete. Steve Sarkisian saying, hey, we're afraid of the smoke. We don't want any smoke outside of our conference schedule because we're so afraid that we're not going to be able to make the college football playoff if we schedule tough games. Jay, it's maddening. And if I ever hear this come out of Oklahoma's administration, from our coach, from our fan base, dude, I will be very disappointed because line up, spot the ball, go play, win your games, and let everybody else do the talking. You take care of your business, and you don't got to worry about any of this.
Yeah, it's funny, the upsetness. We beat Oklahoma. We beat Texas A&M. Great. I'm so happy for
Awesome,
you.
man.
That's
You
awesome.
did. You
Good
beat
stuff.
Texas, or you beat Oklahoma. You beat Texas A&M. You did.
You won some games. Cool. You lost to 4-8 Florida.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand. At the point of where you lost to Florida is more so what hurts you more than anything. That loss would have probably dropped them really far, especially as bad as Florida was playing and as worse as they got. I mean, the reason why Bama's where they're at right now is because they lost to Florida State. Mm-hmm. But they also beat Georgia, who's top 5 right now, right? They was pretty good on a lot of the top teams out there, the teams they played against with some pretty good records. The other thing you got to consider too is the committees looked at the overtime game against Kentucky and Mississippi State comeback where you had to rally all the way back. There were so many moments that they're taking in consideration in there. Texas did not have the gauntlet of a schedule like a lot of other teams, and those games look like struggle. Now, they bounced back and started to look better as the season progressed and looked really good against A&M. that would have been a consideration. But right now Vanderbilt's still trying to figure out why they're where they're at. They just beat a ranked Tennessee team in Neyland as well, just like Oklahoma did. Why aren't we advocating more for Vanderbilt? 10-2 Vanderbilt probably should have gotten in. I mean, they lost to Texas as one of their losses, but because the similar situation for Miami and Notre Dame right now. Notre Dame's ahead of Miami because Notre Dame did lose to Miami, but Notre Dame did not, and they lost to A&M, two teams that are ranked, where Miami's losses are two teams that, weren't
SMU,
ranked.
yeah,
They aren't ranked.
Yeah.
So that's what hurt them right now. That's what's hurting them being behind Notre Dame is their two losses. Losses have to count for something.
Yep.
And who you lose to has to count for something. Beating a team, cool, any given Saturday. We've learned that for years. But sometimes your losses is what kind of hurts you and push you back. Wins should help you, but losses should also count too. There's a balance that has to be there. And I don't think a lot of fans, regardless, Oklahoma, Texas, no matter, understand that component. Well, we beat this team, but who'd you lose to too? Both of them count. Like it's like they sometimes cancel each other out. A good win can cancel out a bad loss. So now you can't talk about those two. You got to look at everything else from there. Right now, their resume isn't as impressive as other teams, just right now. But we'll see. The committee may try to find a way to get them in there, especially if BYU. Well, if BYU doesn't win, they probably won't, but we'll see. They'll try to find a way to get them in.
I just don't see a way. They'd have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to get Texas in this thing, because you talked about Notre Dame, you talked about Miami, you talked about BYU. Vanderbilt has a nice argument as well. You've got to figure out a way to get, a group of 5 team in, or maybe 2 group of 5 teams in. So there's not a lot of wiggle room for the Texas Longhorns, because your top 8 are pretty well set. It's 9 and 10 that has a little bit of a question mark. And I mean, again, Miami has just as strong argument as anybody. Notre Dame has a strong argument. I don't think Alabama's going to get punished for the SEC title game, regardless of how that goes. If they lose to Georgia in the SEC title game, they're not dropping out. Texas A&M's not dropping out, even though they've got just one, they've got a schedule that reflects nobody. They haven't played anybody except Notre Dame. That's the only quality win they have, quote unquote, quality for Notre Dame, because I don't know how good they are, because their only quality win is USC. And how good are they? I mean, they're a top 25 team, but are they good? I don't know. But the back end of that top 10, you could orchestrate it however you want. I just don't see them putting in a 3-loss team when they've got other options available to them that have strong resumes as well.
Yeah, the challenge is building out a playoff based upon the performance of these teams, and the weighing in of all of the options is really where the biggest challenge comes in. And so, man, when I'm looking at it, like I said, like the computers, if I'm correct, the BCS computers, like Vanderbilt being number 12. They're not going to get any love for how they've done this season, how they're probably going to have the Heisman Trophy winner right now. They're not going to get that. It's just unfortunate for them. They just losing on the road kind of, messed them up, right? Losing on the road to Bama and to Texas, 2 teams that are ranked. But they pulled out W's against a lot of top 25 teams. South Carolina, when they were ranked, they beat them. They beat LSU when they were ranked. They beat at number 10. That's basically when LSU started to fall apart. They beat Missouri ranked. They beat a ranked Tennessee. They had 4 teams that they played that were ranked at the time that they played them, that they beat. Just as impressive. But, losing on the road in close games. Bama wasn't close, but Texas was only a 3-score game. You got to ask the question, should they be considered more? But they won't be. It's just, the game's the game. So the solution is what Brent Venables said. You got to beat the teams that's in front of you. We didn't beat the teams we should have. That's why we're where we're at. So we're not going to advocate for we should host a game. We'll let the committee put us where they put us. As long as they put us in, we'll go play against anybody, because we won the games we needed to, and we didn't win the games we needed to get us at a higher spot. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah, if Oklahoma gets to host, man, that would be awesome. At the same time, if they don't, you only have yourselves to blame, because you lost to Ole Miss, you lost to Texas.
Yep. Shouldn't have lost those games.
That's what it comes down to. All right. Former USC player firing shots. Man, so many people have opinions about all of this right now, from Chris Fallica, the Bear, from Dan Lebertard, from Robert Griffin III, about all of this stuff. But the most interesting take that we've seen in recent days, Jay, comes from a former USC Trojan that talked about how interesting it was where Oklahoma stands. Jay, you want to fire off that take?
Yeah, I thought this was pretty awesome or whatnot. Here it is. We're gonna pop this up there for you guys. Jake Olson, former USC player, he says, it's always nice when the school you poach your coach from makes the playoffs before you do. Probably one of my favorite quotes of the week. And yeah, he's pretty upset. And the fans in the comment section of this tweet, ooh boy, were they also upset. They were calling out, Jake a little bit, but Jake pointed out, he's like, look, we brought this dude here specifically to get us into the playoffs. Why aren't we there yet? And every year, basically, he's showing you he's Clay Helton 2.0. Mm-hmm. The years have gotten worse. I mean, this past season was a lot better, but it's been the biggest roller coaster ride you could imagine for them.
Yep. And
it's a lot, to me, just the progressively getting worse than seeing another spike. It's a little bit worse than, especially because he walked in with a whole bunch of great players transferring in with him. You got a Heisman Trophy quarterback that walked in the door ready to play. They had everything placed in front of them, and it's not working. Now you're hearing rumors of other jobs, and I would say I feel bad for USC fans, but I really don't. Game's the game.
USC played 4 top 25 teams this year, and they went 1-3. One of those was Illinois, which Illinois is fool's gold, man. It's like they could be great one week and terrible the next week. They beat Michigan 31-13. Good win. That's a good, solid win.
Really good win.
Again, a true freshman quarterback, though. But they lost by 10 to Notre Dame, and then they got beat by Oregon by 15. So, it's just the Big Ten is set up for Lincoln Riley to go and win 10 games and put themselves in position for a college football playoff berth. Mm-hmm. But he can't do it. He just hasn't been able to do it. They were able to win in the Pac-12 before it fell apart, but he hasn't been able to find enough wins in the Big Ten. And Jake Olson's spot on, man. You poach a coach, the expectations are high that you're going to win and you're going to do more than the team that you took him from. And actually, we've seen this in both spots in that 2021, coaching, or several spots in that 2021 coaching cycle. Mario Cristobal from Oregon to Miami. Dan Lanning's got Oregon in a much better place than Miami.
Yep.
You saw LSU take Brian Kelly from Notre Dame, and Marcus Freeman has Notre Dame in a much better spot than LSU. Now we'll see what Lane Kiffin does. And then Lincoln Riley coming from Oklahoma to USC, and Brent Venables has Oklahoma in a better spot than USC. So maybe don't poach a coach. Like, that might not work in your benefit if you're taking a coach from another Power 4 team. You might want to miss that one, because there might be a little bit of a curse to that. So LSU fans, you might be careful with your expectations.
Be careful. That's the tough part. Like, the grass isn't always greener, and Lane Kiffin even told us all of that himself. But yeah, it's your expectations was that, and we'll see if everything shapes out better in a year or so. If things get better, maybe not, maybe next season. I don't know. I don't know if Maeva will be back next year. I'm not sure if he's a senior or not. That's a really good question as far as what their situation. Yeah, he's a junior, so he should be back next season. So they should get an opportunity to go out there and be competitive again. But I guess the biggest question is, with their schedule, the Big Ten does make it pretty easy for you to go 10-2. The problem is that you have to have some ranked wins to really sway the committee. And, that's what helps Oregon. They've got ranked wins. They're the ones that put the nail in the coffin to Penn State. The loss to Indiana, not as bad, but it's a 10-point game. It was a little bit better than what the numbers show, but you gotta be able to compete, and you have to go out there and win those ranked games. Being 1-4 is bad. I mean, Brent Venables is 9-7 in ranked games, and we had 2 6-win seasons.
Yeah.
Tells you everything you need to know. Like, he's played a lot of ranked games. I think Lincoln is like 5 and like 12 or 14 or something like that. Crazy. We'll see if that turns around for them, but I'm excited that it's National Signing Day and we could see some of these new recruits coming down the line. But I thought that was so funny when I saw Jake Ellison tweet that. I was like, yeah, we got to talk about that sometime this week.
Yeah. So speaking of the early signing period that starts on Wednesday and runs through Friday, Jay, who's a player in this class that you're the most excited to see sign with the Oklahoma Sooners?
Man, Jonathan Hatton.
Okay.
That's my guy. Dude. I told y'all, man, that dude broke me. That's the player that I was the most excited about for this class. Like, Bo Bentley's going to be great. Excited about him. Daniel Odom, wide receiver, is going to be fun to watch. So Jaden Pettit, but Jonathan Hatton to me he feels like a game-changing talent. It's like when you see him, it looks too easy, but it's not. Like, his ability to break tackles, his power, his speed, everything's there. I love what I see out of him. So I'm pretty excited to see him hit the field for Oklahoma. He's the player that I'm the most stoked about.
There's a lot of really intriguing guys that are coming into this class. The Jandreau brothers for me.
Oh, yeah.
Nico and Bo Jandreau. Like, these are 2 guys that I feel like really reflect what Oklahoma's back 7 has turned into, which is a fast and physical group, whether it's Kip Lewis and Owen Heineke and Kobe McKenzie or Samuel Masigo at linebacker, or Reggie Powers III and Michael Boganowski and Peyton Bowen and Robert Spears Jennings and Jaden Hardy at safety. Like, both those guys are going to fit in just great with that group because they get downhill in a hurry and they play so fast and they have such great play recognition that once they see it, it's like a missile. They put their foot in the ground and they just attack, and they're looking to physically punish people. And you see that out of a lot of the guys on the defensive side of the ball that Jim Nagy and Brent Venables are recruiting and looking to sign. They just have that kind of mentality. You see it on their highlights, man. They're just fast and physical, and that's exciting, man, because you like what you're seeing right now. You got to keep building on it. And you got to bring in guys with that kind of mentality and that kind of physicality if you want to keep being the defense that you've built so far.
Yeah, that's what you want. You want to keep physical, keep players that are relentless. You want the ones that don't stop the pursuit. Because I think to me is when you go back and look at how our players have played this season, especially on the line, they never give up.
Motor.
And because they never give up, they've prevented so many big plays. The Mason Thomas play against Auburn always comes to light for me. Like, he missed the hole and Jeremiah Cobb was basically gone. He looped around, ran him down, pushed him out of bounds. Like, that relentless pursuit's huge. Taylor Wine did that against, I think that was what Alabama. He was going around. The tackle did a good job of leading him around the quarterback. He did the spin move to chase back Simpson. Boom, get yourself a tackle. Like, there's so many plays that play in your mind of this team that just consistently is in pursuit and staying relentless, that I'm really excited about these new players because you see that on their tape too. That's the thing. If you've ever watched me talk about like defensive players and I point out that motor, that's why. Because it does stop plays that could be broken into something bigger. It disrupts, it's very disruptive to an offense when a defender is willing to continue to move non-stop. Like, I've seen offensive linemen just stand there like, what am I supposed to do? And dudes going around them because they keep running and keep chasing. So pretty excited about that. That's the biggest thing I'm going to see. I'm ready to see from this class. But, man, I'm so glad that we did a good job on the bounce back this year.
Yeah, Jim Nagy and Brent Venables have really taken care of business, and they've taken advantage of this 10-win season that Oklahoma's put together. Also, just another offensive guy. You talked about Jonathan Hatton. Really excited about Deacon Schmidt. I think it's like one of those under the radar guys because there's a lot of star power and a lot of high profile guys like a Jake Krell and, Bo Bentley and Jaden Pettit and Jonathan Hatton, Deacon Schmidt has a chance to come in and actually earn some playing time early in his career because he's already got good size at 6'5", 320. He plays right guard, a spot that's going to be vacated by Febechi Wiwu after this season. So you have an opportunity to potentially see a guy like him come in and slide in as a freshman. We've seen this team be willing to play freshmen if they prove that they're ready. You could have a really young offensive line next year, but Fasusi, Eddie Pierre-Louis, Ryan Foje have all gotten a lot of valuable experience this year. It'll be a little bit more experienced next year. If a guy like Deacon Schmidt can come in and earn a spot, that'll be something to watch in the offseason.
Yeah, that's going to be intriguing for me. It's seeing what this line turns out to be next year. You lose, like I said, lose Weiwu, you lose Simmons, but you got Foje definitely playing. You got Fasusi playing. EPL's definitely playing. May see either Heath. You may even see Darius Afalava. If he gets healthy, he'd probably be that dude out there with, and then Michael in the middle. You got to get Owen Hollenbeck up to speed and get him going. You've got a lot of good options that I'm pretty excited about. But the good thing is you're returning at least 3, if not 4 linemen minimum. That's going to be so helpful next season.
Yeah. And then your defensive line group is looking really solid as well. James Carrington, Brian Harris, Jake Krell, Matthew Nelson. There's one more. Daniel Norman is the other one, the other edge.
Matthew Norman?
Matthew Nelson?
Yeah, Matthew Norman from Bryan, Arkansas. Yep.
Okay. Maybe I had those backwards.
There's a couple of Nelsons, but yes.
Yeah, there's so many. It's a really, really good group that's going to help build on what this team has already built.
Daniel Norman and then Matthew Nelson. So it's all over the place. But correct.
You got a lot of pretty fun names. So far, they're at 24. We could see them add a guy. They've found ways to add guys during the early signing period. So we'll see what they end up doing. The SEC raised the scholarship limit back to 105. So Oklahoma might have a big class. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in. Being a part of the show, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, not Unfair Spurts. This isn't Jordan-Hare Stadium. For more Oklahoma Sooners and college football coverage, you can follow me at John 9 Williams, and you can read my work covering the Sooners over at Soonerswire.com. But until next time, he's Jay. I'm John. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner.
Sometimes the mouse just doesn't want to do what it's supposed to do.